The French Revolution was an important historical change of course in the modern European history that began in 1789 and ended in the late 1790s with the ascent of Napoleon Bonaparte. During this period, French citizens redesigned their country's political landscape. They uprooted absolute monarchy and the feudal system. The upheaval was caused by widespread discontent with the French monarchy and the poor economic policies of King Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette, who met with their death by guillotine. Although it failed to achieve all of its goals and ended with a bloodbath, the French Revolution played a critical role in shaping modern nations by showing the world the power that is inherent in the will of the people. Now, how did the idea of a nation take birth in France? Well, the first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789. When I say nationalism, it refers to the desire of a group of people who share the same race, culture, language, etc. to form an independent country. France was a full fledged territorial state in 1789 under the rule of an absolute monarch. The political and constitutional changes that came in the wake of French Revolution led to the transfer of sovereignty, that is complete power, from monarchy to a body of French citizens. Now the revolution proclaimed that it was the people who would henceforth constitute the nation and shape its destiny. Now, what steps were taken towards nationalism, or what measures were introduced by French revolutionaries? Well, the first thing, a new French flag, that is a tricolor, was chosen to replace the formal royal standard. Next, the Estate General was elected by the body of active citizens and renamed the National Assembly. New hymns were composed, oaths taken, and martyrs commemorated, all in the name of the nation. A centralized administrative system. Administration means management. So, a central administrative system was put in place and it formulated uniform laws for all citizens within its territory. Internal custom duties and dues were abolished and a uniform system of weights and measures were adopted. Regional dialects were discouraged and French, as it was spoken and written in Paris, became the common language of the nation. The revolutionaries further declared that it was the mission and the destiny of the French nation to liberate the people of Europe from despotism. When I say despotism, it refers to the exercise of absolute power, especially in a cruel and oppressive way. So, in other words, it helped the people of Europe to become nations. When the news of the events in France reached different cities of Europe, students and other members of the educated middle class began setting up Jacobin clubs. The most prominent political clubs of the French Revolution were the Jacobin clubs that sprung up throughout Paris and the province in August of 1789. By 1791, there were 900 Jacobin clubs in France associated with the main club in Paris. Jacobin clubs served as a debating societies where politically minded Frenchmen aired their views and discussed current political issues. Their activities and campaigns prepared the way of the French armies which moved into Belgium, Holland, Switzerland, and much of Italy in 1790. With the outbreak of the Revolutionary Wars, the French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad. After seizing the political power in France in 1799, Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself emperor in 1804. France had no uniform code of laws for effective administration and political stability. So, Napoleon undertook the task of framing the code of law. It touched every aspect of French life. The code reflected the aspirations of the French who wanted to build a new society. Subsequently, it served as a model for other European countries. Within the wide swath of territory that came under his control, Napoleon set about introducing many of the reforms that he had already introduced in France. Through a return to monarchy, Napoleon had, in no doubt, destroyed democracy in France. But in the administrative field, he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system more rational and efficient. It popularly came to be known as the Napoleon Code. So, the Napoleon Code refers to the Civil Code of 1804, which was incorporated with revolutionary principles in the administrative field to make the whole system more rational and effective. First, he did away with all the privileges based on birth. Everyone became equal before the law. He abolished the feudal system and freed the peasants from serfdom and manorial duties. He secured the right to property. Peasants, artisans, workers, and new businessmen found a newfound freedom as guild restrictions were removed in towns also. Guilds basically refer to the association of merchants, craftsmen, or traders to promote their economic interests. And guild restrictions refer to certain restrictions imposed on the association in terms of trade or manufacturing. So now the merchants and artisans were allowed to trade freely. Uniform laws, standardized weights and measures, a common national currency facilitated the movement and exchange of goods and capital from one region to another. However, in the areas conquered, the reaction of the local population to the French rule were mixed. Because initially in many places such as Holland and Switzerland, as well as in certain cities like Brussels, Mayence, Milan, and Warsaw, the French armies were welcomed as harbingers of liberty. When I say harbingers, it refers to a sign that shows that something is going to happen soon and often something bad. And here it is bad for the nobles because it became clear that the new administrative arrangements did not go hand in hand with political freedom. Increased taxation, censorship, forced conscription. When I say conscription, it is referring to force someone to serve in army. So here it is conscription into French armies. So for all these reasons, they required to conquer the rest of Europe. And all these seem to outweigh the advantages of the administrative changes.